The chapter starts where I don't know how best to describe it, but the chapter starts in 1991, October 1991, during the Clarence Thomas hearings, when Anita Hill is up for confirmation. Clarence Thomas is up for confirmation. Anita Hill emerges as the person who accuses him of sexual assault or harassment. And I'm watching this hearing in St. Louis at my grandmother's house. And my grandmother walks into the room where I'm in the living room. She walks in the room and she says, while I'm watching the hearing, she says, "I wish that woman would stop lying on that man." And I'm shocked. I'm thinking, well, why does my grandmother think that the woman is lying about the man? So we had this big conversation about this. It surprised me. I expected my grandmother is a black woman. I expected she would support and understand what the black woman was saying, but she didn't see it that way. And I realized part of it was that she had been sort of raised in the tradition of patriarchy. That whatever the man says is right, particularly in the African American community. So I contextualized that by comparing my own experience with my grandmother the following year, which I'm going to just read a paragraph from that, and then I'll tell you where this ends up. The very next year, when my grandmother attended my law school graduation ceremony, she did not extend the same deference to me that she had to Clarence Thomas. While I sat with my classmates for the ceremony, my grandmother confronted my boyfriend, seated with my family, and told him that she did not approve of my lifestyle, as she put it, and insisted that he give his mother's telephone number to her so she could have a woman-to-woman conversation about our relationship. When I heard what happened, I confronted my grandmother. We argued again, but she did not budge. It appeared that her values were rooted not so much in deference to black men, but rather in support of the institution of the black family, that she felt was somehow threatened by the recognition of my personal agency. Now this comes in the beginning of this chapter on accountability, and the reason why it's here is because the answer to your question is, I think we have to do a better job of holding each other accountable. And I think that means that, I don't know how people in this room identify politically, but I'm a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I've worked in the party for a few years. I obviously worked for Democratic candidates and president. I feel like sometimes we don't do a good enough job of holding our own party accountable. I think this is what happened clearly in the Clinton administration. The reason why I mentioned those failures, the Defense of Marriage Act, which was anti-gay, the failure to lift the ban on gays in the military, which was anti-gay, the crime bill, which was anti-black, the welfare reform bill, which was anti-black. The reason why those things happened and why Bill Clinton didn't suffer because of those things was because we didn't push. I think, to the extent that we could have. And I think the same thing happened in the Obama administration. I went to law school with Barack Obama, and I supported him in both of his campaigns. But there were some issues where he didn't push, and I wanted him to push, and others in the community wanted to push. But because we were also afraid of how Republicans and conservatives would respond if we pushed or if we damaged his presidency, we didn't advance our own interests. And so part of the argument I make in the book is that we have to do a better job of pushing for our issues, regardless of the political party. That we shouldn't be beholden to a particular political party. We should be aware, cognizant of the tremendous differences between the parties. But if we don't use the leverage we have, we'll never be able to accomplish anything.
And do you put together in your book?
A new book?
Do you put together in your book a formulation of how that could work, the accountability structure? I think that makes sense, but I think there's a tremendous fear on the other side. And I heard you just articulate that, saying, we didn't want to because we were afraid what the Republicans might say. We didn't get Obama to push his part. But if we're operating from fear, we're never going to move forward. It's like, what is the real solution? Yes, accountability, but also a fearless level of accountability as well, right? So that we can get what we want, ultimately. Because now we're just being, in my opinion, the Democrats are being trampled by the Republicans and this idea that the Republicans have a great machine that operates from fear. And
well, I wouldn't say fearless. I would say smart. I mean, when I say that, when I make the distinction, I'm saying that because I think there are some reasons to be concerned about airing your dirty laundry, quote unquote. But on the other hand, it's also very important that you still be able to push the issues that you think are important for your community. And so, for example, right now, what's the most loyal constituency of the Democratic Party demographically?
I don't know. I think it's white people.
Black voters. The
Okay.
Democratic Party.
Okay.
Black
Okay.
voters.
Okay.
90% of black voters vote for Democratic presidential candidates in practically every election. That's the most loyal. There's no other group of people that's more loyal than black people. And yet,